Today is the United Nations International Day for Persons with Disabilities, and the Rick Hansen Foundation and Angus Reid Institute are releasing a study that provides some really interesting insight into Canadian attitudes towards disability and accessibility. We're so pleased to have Rick join us in studio, and this is an amazing partnership that you had so that you could find, out what really the barometer out there, what Canadians are thinking with regards to disability and accessibility.
That's right, Marcy, and what a great time to release it on the International Day of Disabled Persons for the United Nations. And it's a chance for Canada in many ways to measure up and, to dispel some of the myths and show what Canadians are thinking about accessibility and people with disabilities.
And speaking of that, we've got a board and we just want to highlight a few things and maybe you can speak to it. So we're putting that up right now. 90% of people saw accessibility, Rick, as a right, not a privilege.
This is a really great finding because, for 30 years, we've been trying to bring awareness that disability is really important in this country. And to have that be validated by this really credible survey by Angus Reid is phenomenal because it says Canadians are with us on this issue and we need to make more progress. And
clearly by these numbers, Canadians are with you in a big way because 87% thought Canada should be a world leader when it comes to this.
True, and that I think that goes both ways. We should be, best in class in the world, but also we should contribute to the world in a global movement, and that's our vision and mandate of the Rick Hansen Foundation.
Point well taken. Also, and I found this very interesting, most Canadians believe that disability affects 1 in 25 people, but in actuality, it's 1 in 7.
See, this is a fact that's really important to us because it makes us realize that no matter how hard we've been trying, people aren't as aware that disability is a big deal as they should be. They see it as maybe 1 in 25. It's not that prevalent, but it's actually 1 in 7, and it's actually growing rapidly. By 2030, with the aging baby boomers having varying disabling conditions, it'll be 1 in 5. That's 9 million Canadians by the time the country grows. And this is going to be not just a human rights issue, but an economic imperative for the strength of the country to succeed.
And something that many people may not consider, Rick, accessibility is one thing, but equal accessibility is quite another.
Well, for sure. Some people think that we have made progress in accessibility, but, this survey also verifies that, the expectations of accessibility, are not being met. Canadians say that we haven't made enough progress in transportation, access to, to public and private buildings and the workplace. There's a lot of work that has to be done to close the gap between our stated value of the country we want and where we're at. And the fact that that visibility exists means that we have to work even harder to be able to actually make sure that every building is universally accessible and that actually people realize it's not just a cost, but it's a benefit. And that's one of the other things about the survey is that there was inherent gaps in a sense of some Canadians, about 50% of Canadians, even though they thought it was a human right, think, well, maybe the costs are an issue. And so we want to educate Canadians that it's not just a cost, but it's a benefit. By making that investment, we bring people into society so they can contribute.
In a big, big way.
Truly. And then, of course, unemployment is also a massive concern because Canadians think that maybe it's okay for employers to think that it's risky to hire people with disabilities.
We had a documentarian on just a little while ago talking about just that. She's got a new documentary about what she called an untapped workforce, so making the point that you do as well.
Well, actually, we have to dispel that myth because it's not risky. It's actually a benefit, and people with disabilities are great employees.
Good to see you, Rick. Thank you so much
Marcy.
for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All the best to you. We will have a link to the Rick Hansen Foundation on our website.